Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 533 for the 6th of January 2019. Richard Saunders here with you from the San Francisco Bay Area. And what a great start to 2019 it has been, especially in the cold, crispy weather that I love. But I think there's lots of rain forecast. I'm glad I'm here at the moment because in Sydney, Australia, it's, I understand, heat wave conditions, followed by heavy thunderstorms. Maybe I should work for the Weather Channel. Coming up on this week's show, here in San Francisco, I join Mark Edward, Jay Diamond, and Susan Gerbic, who is from Guerrilla Skepticism at Wikipedia, and we head to the Exploratorium. Now, we've been there before a couple of years ago, but it's always great to go back, especially with some skeptics. And afterwards, I chat to Susan Gerbic about what it's like to be an editor for Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia. More about Wikipedia coming up. After that, Life is Wild with Michelle Franklin with an unusual story of an emu invasion. Yeah, emus. What happens when people try to control emus? And then we head to Wikimedia, the headquarters of Wikipedia here in San Francisco. I get a little tour with Moriel Schottlender, a friend of mine who I met many years ago, over 10 years ago, when she demonstrated some science by whacking a cream pie in my face. She was on the Skeptic Zone only about a year back talking about the flat Earth. Anyway, she brings us up to date on the flat Earth. Is it still flat? Probably not. And we get a little tour of Wikimedia. Then to round off the show, a story from Jane Hansen, as read by the diet skeptic Mandy-Lee Noble, about a naturopath who's under investigation for what seems to be pretty dodgy advice regarding cancer and breastfeeding. Well, here we go. Another year of the Skeptic Zone. Another year. I think I'm going to run upstairs and have myself some linguine del mar. Actually, I had some the other night. It was pretty good. While I do that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
It's an odd sort of a day here in San Francisco. Back in Australia, it's already 2019. Here, however, it's still 2018. It's one of those quirks of the timeline, the dateline, the international dateline. I'm walking up from the ferry building here in San Francisco, heading towards the Exploratorium. And we've been there before. The Skeptic Zone has been to the Exploratorium before, where we did some reports, but not with Susan Gerbic from Guerrilla Skepticism, who I just bumped into in the street at random. Hello.
He did not bump into me on the street. Be skeptical, people.
Be skeptical. Susan's... Oh, hello. We've got somebody with some groovy music coming up behind us. We're with Mark Edward and Jay Diamond. Hello, guys.
Hey,
hello.
We're here.
Yay. And it's nippy today. It's a little bit brisk. He's a happy guy. He just walked past us with his music. And it's a lovely, clear day here in San Francisco. We're walking up to the Exploratorium. I've been here before, as I said, but it's more fun when you go with people and you can play silly games, science games with each other. The sights and sounds of San Francisco. It looks like a lot of South American people, maybe, all banging their drums and walking past. Not sure why.
Smell that sage.
They're purifying 2018. And
I guess they were, yeah. That's very colourful and interesting, and they had these smoking things. And we're nearly at the Exploratorium. There's quite a lot of people walking up and down along the famous San Francisco piers.
Touch screen, they clear and close by how you touch them.
Okay, here are the doors.
says entrance around that way. But hey, we can go in here.
The entrance is around that way, but if we go through this way, not only is it warm, but we can walk through the gift shop to begin with.
I thought it was that all the way. Gift shop, no?
Main entrance. Oh, no, we're on the right side. We'll find it. Then this is a good gift shop. Now, I've got no kickback here. I'm not doing anything special.
Everyone loves great science gifts, right?
And this gift shop...
First, because I might buy something.
You probably will buy something.
Then I'll have to carry it with me.
I always buy something in that gift shop. Let's do the
ticketing.
The ticketing. It's around this way, and we'll walk around here. Look at that! Yeah, fantastic. We can see through the giant glass doors here. All sorts of things happening, and we're walking up to near where the tickets are. Okay, we've already struck the first.
Figure it out?
We have to figure out how the lockers work, actually.
You touch the handles and it's playing the music.
What? All right. What, you're doing that?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. There's musical notes on them.
Mark has the key.
It's called musical walkers.
And it only took us an hour.
There we are. I just composed that locker.
That's fantastic. Richard, I really like to think of you as the Beethoven of locker 21st century music composition.
I am in fact. The wall of lockers. I didn't even know that, Susan.
I did not even. That is super cool.
I saw the sign.
Susan
I'm not that
pays
clever.
Attention. You know, you get extra points for paying attention.
You know, they say that your luck is better if you're the type of person who actually pays attention to things. Isn't that what Richard Weissman told us in his book?
Yeah.
The Luck Factor?
Well, lucky for us we're here. Why don't we dive right into the exhibits? Let's go into the shadow room here. The shadow box, it's called. It's a very dark room. And if we stand near the wall... So stand near the wall and make a funny pose, and in 23 seconds, a bright flash flashes and preserves our shadow for a minute or two.
We can photograph our shadow. We can photograph it after.
I guess so. 9, 7, 5, 4. Here it comes. Oh, that was bright. There's our shadows. Look at that. So Susan's making the victory sign, and I've got my microphone in my hand. And they're fading already. You see that? It's not often you can see your own shadow like that. That's quite cool. Well, lots of people here today. I'm really pleased to see it. The place is pretty full.
To see so many children here.
Lots of children, always a good thing. And we're walking along this wide corridor, and there are science games and toys and puzzles everywhere. Hello, what's this? Metronome synchronization. I think I've seen something like that on Mythbusters, where you get all these metronomes and you put them on a platform suspended on string so they all tick together. And then they explode, I don't know. This is one of these strobe animation wheels.
Yeah, go in there, kids.
Oh, wow. So it's Lego Batman. And it's comes to life before our eyes with strobing. Hard to explain. And the penguins, isn't that cool? And the Riddler. That's pretty cool. That's great. Susan, your camera can't...
The camera can't even catch it.
You can't focus with it. That's interesting. Now, Skeptic Zone listeners may well remember that the last time I was here at the Exploratorium, I interviewed Paul Doherty. He had a book out about crazy ways to die and scientific things to do with that. I interviewed Paul, wonderful man. He showed me all around, and sadly, about 6 months later, he died. So I was very pleased to be able to come here and to interview Paul Doherty, and I'll link to that episode of the Skeptic Zone in the show notes for this week. As we enter a huge room towards the back here with, what is that? It's a prism of lights. It's like a giant cube
It's the infinity.
It's an infinity cube. No matter how you look into it, it just keeps going on forever. Wow. It's like looking into another dimension.
Wow, what is that?
It's a giant sort of bubble sculpture hanging from the ceiling. Multicolored. It's extraordinary here. And no matter how much I explain it, what's going on and all the things to see, you can only get a guess. You can only guess at what it's really like here. Now, Susan, I'm going to take you over to an amazing mirror illusion.
Okay.
Because when I was here last time with Paul Doherty, this is the one that really, really amazed me. And it gives quite the incredible illusion. The closer we get, if you look around the mirror, you'll be able to find yourself. You just have to get into the sweet spot. And not only is it upside down.
Oh, there you are. Oh, you are 3D.
It's 3D.
Oh, my goodness.
And see what this man's doing? He's reaching out and he's touching his own hand in reflection. Look at that.
Oh, trip. Oh, wow.
It's staggering. It's one of the best illusions ever. Oh, there's me. I can just see me over there. So it's like looking at yourself in reality, but upside down, as if you were hanging from the ceiling. I've lost you. Oh, there you are.
Am I in here?
You're there. Look. So put out your hand. Keep going, keep going. That's weird, isn't it? Isn't that strange?
Yeah, that's cool.
Susan's reaching out and she's touching her own hand in reflection. And her reflection is reaching back to touch your hand.
Oh, look, like I'm shaking hands.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Look how clear that is. I could use that to put my makeup on or something with that. It's so clear. Except it's upside down. Jay!
And now we're in the room of infinite reflections. And there are 1,000 Susan Gerbics and 1,000 Richard Saunders in here.
Mark!
Am I going to get nauseous again?
Are we all having a little conference in here?
Yeah.
Is that the way it works?
Now there are thousands of people in here, right?
So welcome to the Cone of Silence at the World Skeptic Conference.
What?
This is where we do all of our conspiracies.
What? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What?
You're going to see your camera.
I said, welcome to the Cone of Silence.
No matter what you do, you're going to
Hello, Susan?
Oh my God, I can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Are you having a good time here at the Exploratorium?
I am. Now, Susan and I are sitting about 20 meters from each other, talking in our normal voices,
Jay?
and we can hear each other through these parabolic listening caves. Thanks, Susan. Now, this is a strange one. It's called Sound Bite, where you put a disposable drinking straw, on a little metal rod, and the metal rod is vibrating with vibrations. But when you bite down, you can actually hear something through your teeth.
It's rap music.
It's rap music. Isn't that odd? Isn't that strange?
Well, that's what it gives us straws.
And yet, there's yet more interesting things lying ahead with lots of kids here. Vibrations, sound.
What else?
Oh, what's this? This looks weird. This looks like something from Doctor Who. Reverse ears, it's called. Oh! So, okay, let me try to explain it.
From one side.
This is like headphones.
I tried getting away.
Ask your friend to speak to you from one side. Make sure they don't tell you what side they're on. Try to decide what side your friend is on, and then open your eyes where you're right. So I'm going to close my eyes. You have to put theirs on.
I'll try it on you first. So Susan's wearing a pair of headphones attached to tubes and little inlets here for sound. I'm going to speak in one side, and she's going to try and guess where I'm speaking from. Hello, where am I speaking from? Oh, she guessed. So much for that. All right, I'm going to try these on.
Hello, Richard. Hello.
Well, my senses tell me you're there. But you're on the other side, right?
Hello.
Oh, wow.
No.
Why are you having action?
Hello. What side am I on?
Try these ones. Susan, try those.
How come it's not doing anything for me? It's like making me look fashionable and everybody's going to want one.
I think we've shown that you're
Shut your
not
eyes.
human.
What side am I speaking from?
You're here. I hear you here, but I know you're there.
Now this one I've seen on TV. It's a sheet of metal with some sand on top, and we get a thing like a violin bow. The idea is, of course, the sand is vibrating on the metal plate, like my teeth. I think I've just lost about 20% of my listeners.
20%?
Yes, all three of them. Yes. And of course, you turn your back for one moment, and half the party disappear. But I think it's part of the magic of this place. Oh, here's one. Did you look in the igloo then?
I didn't go in yet.
It's an igloo of light.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, well, it's
Just like in the far north.
It's yes. Well, it's not that exciting, but it's interesting nevertheless.
Remember, I'm from Canada, so, in Canada it's all igloos and lights.
Of course, yes. Let's step into the igloo of light here, ducking in the other side, and we're in.
It's like an igloo of light.
It is.
It's an igloo made of light.
Light, okay. With an exit, here we go. After lots and lots and lots of fun and lots of science, we found ourselves in the cafeteria, and over some root beer and fries, I asked Susan Gerbic what it's like to be an editor for guerrilla skepticism on Wikipedia.
Well, after you finish training, you're let loose to do whatever you'd like to do. But to get through training, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of edits that you have to make. You have to learn how to cite something. You have to add a photo. You have a lot of different things that are asked of you. And then when you're finished, which takes anywhere from 2.5 to 4 months, you're going to come out to be a well-rounded, really well-trained editor of Wikipedia, far more than somebody who's probably self-trained on Wikipedia. Then you're able to do pretty much whatever you want. Some people are great at just handling vandalism. Some people like to improve pages with photos or adding citations. Some people like to create brand new pages, and some people like to just rewrite pages. There's so much you can do. It's really up to you. It's an obsession to some people. One of my editors, Leon Korteweg from the Netherlands, he was an editor of Wikipedia for quite a while before he joined the GSoW, before he found out about us. But he really missed the social aspects, the ability to be able to talk to people in some sort of chatting kind of function, where you get instant feedback. And when he joined us, maybe 6 years ago, he just took to it like a duck in water. And we just looked at his edits the other day, and he's written so many Wikipedia pages, a lot of them in Dutch, and then translating them into English, or English pages translated into Dutch. And all of the pages he's created, and I think he's had 126 pages he personally has created, have just hit over 3.5 million page views just by himself. Plus he's influenced others to write other pages and helped on other people's pages as well. Our team is just creating, I think, our 770th page we just launched, and those pages have just hit 35.5 million page views. So we know we're having impact, and it's such a satisfying feeling to know that. Yeah, go ahead. It's a very satisfying feeling to know that you've been able to get it really great information out there on Wikipedia, where people are able to access it and learn from it. I'm enthralled by the world that we're in. It's such a joy. I mean, I really have no skills in the area that I am in. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I don't have a degree in any advanced degrees of any kind, and I'm a trained baby photographer. So I can't believe I'm doing this, but somehow or other, it just works.
It's sadly time to leave the Exploratorium. A big shout out and a thank you to Josh, who is looking after us today. And Jay, what a wonderful place it is.
There are worse ways to spend a day.
The San Francisco Exploratorium is at Pier 15 and is open Tuesdays to Sundays. For more information, visit exploratorium.edu or just follow the links in this week's show notes. Quackwatch, your guide to quackery, health, fraud, operated by Stephen Barrett, MD. Quackwatch is now an international network of people who are concerned about health-related frauds, myths, fads, fallacies, and misconduct. Its primary focus is on quackery-related information that is difficult or impossible to get elsewhere. Articles include Quackery, how should it be defined, how it sells, 26 ways to spot it, how it harms cancer patients, and much more. www.quackwatch.org.
Life is wild. With Michelle Franklin. Humans have a fairly poor track record of moving into wild territories, setting up homes, and then being surprised and alarmed when animals show up in those homes, not realising the irony of the animals being equally surprised and alarmed for exactly the same reason. This situation can be exacerbated when we start to change the habitats. Take inland Australia, for example. It's hot and dry and generally pretty difficult to live in. But when humans show up, we drill bores, we bring water to the surface, and then we grow crops and we cut down trees and we let lots of grass grow, basically making living conditions better so that we can use the land to make lots and lots of cows. But cows aren't the only things that drink water and eat grass, so we accidentally start making lots of kangaroos and also rabbits and horses and camels and pigs, and you get the idea. Suddenly we have animals everywhere, and then all the food's gone, and it becomes a lot harder to make cows. The way this is generally handled is through eradication programs for the invasive species and through culling for population control of the native species. To some people this might seem harsh, but we need to remember that it's exactly the same thing that we do in our own homes. We build a nice little habitat that we like to live in. We grow gardens full of plants that we like to look at and smell and eat. And then the animals move in, and we don't like that. Sure, we like the birds and the lizards, but not many people want to share their kitchen with ants and cockroaches, or let the snails and slugs have their flowers. So we routinely cull large numbers of both native and non-native animals when they enter our homes and our gardens. Of course, there are other ways that we can learn to live with the animals around us. If we clean up our crumbs, maybe the ants won't come inside, and if we fence the gardens, maybe the kangaroos will stay out. But realistically, we know that this only works for some of the time. When it stops raining, the ants will still come inside looking for food and water, and if it rains too much, they'll come in looking for high ground. When the kangaroos are hungry enough, no fence is going to keep them out. So when our food supply and our livelihood depends on competing with animals that want our resources, we fight back. Sometimes with fences, sometimes with chemical weapons, and sometimes with bullets. But what do we do when the wild things turn up en masse to reclaim their land? As usual, I can't tell you what we should do when large numbers of native animals want the same resources as us, but I can tell you what we did do about 75 years ago when it happened, and I'll even go as far as to suggest that this is not the answer. Don't try this at home. So, after World War I, British and Australian soldiers were given land in Western Australia to live on and to grow crops. They did this pretty well. They irrigated the land, they grew lots of wheat, and most importantly, they put water access points all around the place to generally make conditions pretty good. Too good. Emus normally live in the bush near the farmland and migrate away every year to the coast, but due to some terrible politics, a drought and a depression, wheat prices dropped so low that in 1932, many farmers didn't even bother to harvest their crops. Instead, they just left them lying in the fields. Now, generally emus breed inland and then head to the coast afterwards. But when roughly 20,000 emus stumbled across a massive supply of free food, interspersed with free water and nice soft places to lay down, happy days. They decided to vacation in the wheat fields rather than at the beach. Of course, the people who worked the land where the emus were having their impromptu vacation weren't too impressed with all these unwanted invaders, busting down fences, taking all the resources and generally overstaying their welcome. The ex-soldiers turned farmers tried to defend their crops and their livelihoods themselves, but there were 20,000 hungry emus and they didn't stand a chance. So the farmers asked for help. But they didn't ask an ecologist who might understand the situation and have some insights into how to manipulate resources or behaviours to improve it. And they didn't ask a zoologist who might understand emu biology or behaviour and have some insights on how to control or manage a large flock of birds that's in a place that it isn't wanted. They didn't even ask an animal control expert who might know something about how to kill large flightless yet flighty birds that don't want to leave. Instead, they stuck within their own area of expertise, which is fighting other humans. They asked the military for help, failing to understand that emus neither flock like cows nor flee like people, and fighting them is not the same thing as fighting humans. This might sound like a joke, but it's really not, and this is what we do when we're confronted with a challenging situation and we're desperate and we're afraid we're going to lose all of our food and those scary invaders are coming. We turn to what we know. And in 1932, what the farmers knew was war. So we declared war on the emus. Now, if you think emus are nothing more than large, funny-looking chickens, I want to clear that up right now. They may have long, skinny legs and tiny, dumb wings and be all goofy and fluffy, but so were the dinosaurs, and underneath all those feathers, they pack one hell of a punch to the poor, unsuspecting zookeeper on their first week of work who forgot to bring the rake that day and was confronted by a horny emu with no fear of humans. Not that I would know anything about that or harbour any unresolved feelings. But that is where we were. We decided that the best way to deal with an interrupted migration of our national emblem was to kill them with machine guns. So that's what they tried to do. Emphasis on tried. It turns out that when scared, hungry animals are suddenly attacked and they don't understand what's happening, they run away. But they don't run as a mob, the way the people expected them to run. They run like emus, which means the flock splits up into smaller mobs and every mob runs in a different direction. That wasn't in the battle plan, and neither was weapon failure. But when they were relying entirely on 2 machine guns against 20,000 emus with unorthodox retreat tactics, they were destined for failure, and the emus ran off and just ate some wheat a little bit further away. They tried to improve their odds by making better weapons. They mounted their guns on the back of a truck and drove around trying to shoot the emus at high speed. But it turns out emus are actually better at running over rough ground than large trucks, and shooting at them from a military truck that's bouncing around over rocks and hills is actually pretty hard. It should be noted at this point that when the Australian military declared war on the emus, it wasn't a decision that was supported by all the people. They made some very bad decisions, killed some very confused emus, and made themselves very unpopular with the general population who didn't want the emus killed. And lucky for them, that wasn't actually happening very much anyway. At the end of the campaign, they managed to kill roughly 5% of the invading birds, but it cost them 10 rounds per kill, and most of their dignity, before the eventual surrender and the emus declared victory. After that, they gave up on the emu war, and the surviving 95% of the local population hung around, ate crops, and made more emus. In later years, bounties were introduced, and emu numbers were slowly reduced to more sustainable levels, so that we could share the land without having to give up our crops. These days we have a fairly uneasy truce in place. Emus are a protected species, and with the help of some better fencing technology and by ensuring that there's enough land out there for the emus to get by without our wheat, things are going fairly okay. But we live in fear of the day that the emus look over the fence and realise that the wheat really is greener on the other side, and they might decide to just come take some. The lesson that I take away from this is that when we mess with an ecosystem, we can't always control what happens. Oh, and when ecology goes bad, enlisting the military to declare war on nature probably isn't going to make things any better.
Sweet cappuccino. Soy latte.
Hey, Richard.
Oh, hi, Trish. Hi. Would you like a coffee?
Yeah, thanks. What are you working on?
I'm trying to come up with a new promo to play on the Skeptic Zone.
Who's it for?
The Good Thinking Society in the UK. You know, the...
Oh, yeah, I know them. The guys who recently chased the homeopaths out of the UK public health system.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they campaigned and lobbied government for a while, and now you cannot get homeopathy on the NHS. So they can now spend public money on healthcare that works.
Oh, right. Look, I'll mention that in the promo. Now, their website is goodthinkingsociety.org.
And that website is a good resource for learning more about quackery.
Ah, thanks, Trish. That gives me something good to think about. Now, where are we? We're walking down 3rd Street here in San Francisco. What a great lunch I just had with my old friend Moriel Schottlender. Hello.
Hello. It's so great to have you here again.
Thank you. Now, Skeptic Zone listeners, and I'll link in the show notes, may well remember a couple of years back we had a chat to Moriel about the flat Earth.
That's right. Yes.
And your interview ended up in the Skeptic magazine as a featured article.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on a flat publication.
A published author.
Yes.
Well, so to speak. Well, what's the latest on the flat Earth? Surely it's all gone away now, and it was a big joke, and nobody believes it anymore.
It was a big fat joke. A fat round joke. No, if only. Yeah, I mean, it died down a little bit, and then it keeps coming in waves. It depends. Usually it's when someone famous decides to challenge the institution and, say that the world is flat, and then everybody's, there's a discussion. Then I start getting mentions and, people thinking that, oh, there's something that you didn't think about and, point it out. But I just got an email, I think a week ago, from a random person that read the article and decided to write to me and tell me exactly where I got it wrong. And I think the first paragraph starts with like something atrociously wrong on its own. It just happens. I just stopped answering, honestly. It just stopped being worth it to just waste time answering.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, it's important for people like you and me and all the skeptics to see what other people think, what they write. But then there comes a stage where I think it does your sanity a lot of harm to keep reading the drivel, And some of it's just confused, hardly intelligible drivel, really.
Yeah, and you know what? I started reading the email, and it was very clear to me from the start that he didn't actually read the article. So if, sometimes I get questions from maybe, you could see that it's like a kid or someone who's genuinely confused, and then maybe I'll answer and I'll participate. But that email, you could see that they clearly didn't read anything.
Oh, this way, okay. Yeah,
yes.
Where are we? We're on the corner of, we're near Market Street, Kearney and something else. Crossing over. It's a nice winter's day here in San Francisco. It's clear, but there's a chill in the air. Anyway, I'm glad I've had the opportunity to meet up with you once again, Moriel, because, and I'm really looking forward to this, you have probably one of the most interesting jobs I can think about. And I'd best let you describe what you do.
So I'm a software engineer, and I lead 2 teams, technical teams, at the Wikimedia Foundation. And we operate a small website that you may have heard about. Maybe you've used it sometimes, called Wikipedia.
What? Wiki? What? Oh, Wikipedia, of course. Well, that's impressive. My goodness. I mean, I use it frequently, I must say. Frequently. It's full of people saying the Earth's flat, by the way.
It does have those, so occasionally. But thankfully, they need to bring citations to everything they say, and that's where they fail.
And we hear that more and more. So citation needed.
Yes, that is the tenet, I think, that the Wikipedia exists on, right? Like, everything needs to be cited and, well established, so that everybody can enjoy actual information and not just opinions or guessing around.
So, walking along, we're just on the corner of Kearney and Post.
We're about to go back.
If people are following us on their map, on their Google map, maybe, I don't know, because we were just chatting about giant softwares and internet corporations before Google and Facebook and what have you.
Yeah.
And, there's a few people downtown. It's not like the big tourist season, though, at the moment. And so your office is down the street all the way.
That's it. This is it.
This is,
This is right here.
We're right here as we turn into the Post-Montgomery Center. Here we go. Through the glass doors, thank you. Oh, that's nice.
And now we're going to go up the elevator.
The stage just gets better and better.
I know. It's a very complex entrance. So through a door, into elevators.
Oh, a swipe card. This is
it tells you which elevator to go.
Very technical. Here we go.
Yes. It's actually a little weird. We went. I think moved here 2 years ago, a year ago. And the elevators don't have buttons. I don't know if you can see.
There's no buttons.
No.
There's door opening buttons and emergency button, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's because they read your card and they decide where to go, for better or worse.
Wow. So you can't pop down to another floor to see somebody?
No. Unless you have the access card for that. I know, it's a little...
This is getting to be a little bit high-tech around here.
All right, so welcome to the Wikimedia Foundation offices.
There it is, Wikimedia Foundation. How about that? All right, we'll go in and we'll continue in a moment.
Yes.
Well, I've just had the tour of the Wikimedia here in San Francisco, and lots of very friendly people. It's fascinating. And we're up, 15 stories, I think?
16.
16.
Yeah.
And we've just sit down in a little private corner here with a giant window overlooking downtown San Francisco. And it's just mesmerizing. I've never been up high in a building in San Francisco.
Really?
And I noticed walking around, almost everybody has $1 million view to look out of the window. How on earth do you concentrate on doing wiki work?
I know. I think that we look out the window a lot. It's important. Yes.
I'm doing it now. You're right here, but I keep craning my neck over and, wow, look at that. I'll have to take a picture. There goes a bus.
It's very good for your health, though, when you work a lot on the computer, to kind of shift your view for a couple of minutes outside and then go back. So that's a very good thing that we have those big windows here. I will say, though, I have my chair is very close to one of those windows, and at first there was there's like a safety bar here where we sit.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of windows that don't have that safety bar, and I have to say it makes all the difference, because if you don't notice for a minute, you don't look at the window, and then suddenly you do look a little down, your heart jumps about just the height at where you are.
Yeah, well, it's quite staggering. I mean, we're sitting in a comfortable chair. There's a cushion, and I'm leaning over now, and I can almost see straight down, but I'm not getting the sense of...
It's because of the bar. If we go to a window without a bar, I think...
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Your brain is going to start screaming at you that there's nothing to hold on to.
So please... tell the audience a little bit about what you do here at Wikimedia.
So I lead 2 teams. I'm a technical lead of the anti-harassment tools team. So we are working, as the name sounds, we're working on giving tools to make sure that the experience of editors and users in general on all of our websites, including Wikipedia, is much better, and that we're giving the proper tools to enable the social changes that are needed. And the other team is the community tech team. So we run every year a wish list where users of all of our projects can go in and kind of suggest features that they want, or suggest kind of projects that they want. And there's a wish list period of time where they suggest, and then a period of time where they vote. And then usually we get about the top 10 that we implement for them and make their life easier, hopefully. So,
well, listeners to the Skeptic Zone will know, and because she's on this very episode, of course, Susan Gerbic from Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia, and she's a lady who didn't know what would happen in her life, and she got stuck into Wikipedia, and it's really transformed her life. But Wikipedia itself is enormous, isn't it? It's just it's hard to comprehend the scope of Wikipedia.
Yeah, we have, so I think a lot of people don't know that we support, I'm hoping not to get that number wrong, but it's about 380 languages. And each one of those languages is its own community. So it's not like we have one community that then translates. It's like each one, so Spanish Wikipedia is its own community, English Wikipedia is its own community that have its own rules and stuff like that. And on top of that, we don't just have Wikipedia. We also have 10 other projects, which I'm going to forget some now. But we have WikiCommons, which is where free images, freely licensed images.
I use that. If you go to skepticzone.tv and scroll to the bottom of the page for this podcast, you'll see a couple of origami images that I put up that people can download, and they're on WikiCommons, which is a convenient place to put them.
Yeah, and it's part of our thing of sharing knowledge, sharing images and free images. So we have WikiCommons, we have things like Wiktionary, which is the free dictionary. We have Wikispecies, we have Wikibooks, we have Wikisource. So we have about 11 projects, and almost each one of them has 380 languages. So overall, we have about 900 websites that we are kind of operating. Each basically their own, more or less their own community with rules. Right. So it's very, very big.
And you were telling me before that this whole place, much like the Skeptic Zone, I hasten to say, couldn't exist without donations and contributions.
We are 100% donation-based.
That's
100%.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Because this, if people think of the scope of what Wikipedia and Wikimedia do, it's mind-blowing. And it's because of the support from the community.
100%, yeah. We have a promise to our users that because once you stop using donations, if you start using commercials or ads, then the question about how much you're biased comes in, right? Like, if someone pays for, to put stuff on their content, then maybe they don't like something, you'll start editing for them and stuff like that. So we have a promise to not ever do that. And we're 100% donation-based.
That's fantastic, because as listeners know, on the Skeptic Zone, there are commercial breaks. Between every report and every segment, you'll hear, but I'll say, I don't take a dime for those. They're just, I play those because I think they're the sort of things that people should know about, and I like to support other podcasts for a start. And if people then decide to send their money to another podcast, oh well. But no, it's because I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. No, we are, and I think the important thing to kind of like remember also is that Wikipedia, and again, all the other websites, they are run by the volunteers all over the world. So what the Wikimedia Foundation is doing is supporting those communities.
Right.
And a lot of the employees here, including me, we are volunteers also in our, volunteer time. I do edit, but that is in my private capacity. As part of staff here, we are not responsible for content. We're not touching those. This is, the communities do that. We are responsible to make sure that they have the tools that they need, that they have the support that they need, that, they're empowered to do that, to make sure that our mission, comes true.
Well, keep the back end going, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Wow, how fascinating, and how lucky am I to get a little tour of this amazing place. And again, I'm not being rude, but we keep looking out the window, both of us. There goes the tram, the F line. There it is. Yeah, there it goes. So the water's down that way.
Yes.
Oh, there's the Hobart building. I know that. Yes, I've walked up and down there many, many times. And I met you for lunch right there.
Down there.
Right there, and I can see it near the escalator. Fantastic. Well, Moriel, again, wow, it's such a treat to see you again, because we're old friends since you stuck a pie in my face many years ago.
We were just remembering that part.
And thank you for giving me a little tour of Wikimedia.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Hallo aan alle Nederlandse luisteraars. Op dit moment bent u aan het luisteren naar de Skeptic Zone voor wetenschap en kritisch nadenken. Voor meer informatie ga naar www.skepticzone.tv.
That looks good enough to eat. Or does it? Here's the diet skeptic, Mandy-Lee Noble.
Hello, Skeptic Zone listeners. Mandy-Lee Noble here. This week I have an extra mini report for you where I'm going to share a news item from the Sunday Telegraph, which is printed in Sydney, Australia. The news article is from Jane Hansen, who was this year's winner of the inaugural Barry Williams Award for Skeptical Journalism. The report is on Barbara O'Neill, naturopath and the wife of infamous anti-vax campaigner Michael O'Neill. Barbara O'Neill is being investigated for dangerous recommendations for infant feeding, cancer care and immunisation. I will now read to you from Jane's article. Naturopath's cancer healing claims under the microscope. A naturopath who charges as much as $3,100 a week for health retreats is under investigation by the health watchdog for allegedly making false claims about cancer and vaccinations. Barbara O'Neill, who is described on her Misty Mountain Health Retreat website as a world-famous health lecturer, may be in breach of the Healthcare Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct for unregistered health practitioners. Unlike doctors, naturopaths are unregistered and only covered by a code of conduct. Under the code, a health practitioner must not make claims either directly or in advertising or promotional material about the efficacy of treatments or services provided if those claims cannot be substantiated. The Sunday Telegraph understands the HCCC launched an investigation after receiving numerous complaints from concerned citizens and registered health practitioners. Complaints allege that Miss O'Neill treats cancer patients with bicarbonate of soda wraps to alkalise the body and recommends a diet to kill cancer. So for cancer, it's no fruit for 6 weeks, no wheat for 6 weeks, very little carbohydrate. So what do they eat? Lots of legumes, lots of vegetables, nuts and seeds, she said in one of her online videos. Miss O'Neill claims in her numerous videos presentations that antibiotics cause cancer and the human body was designed to heal itself and does not need to be vaccinated. She also claims neurotoxins in vaccines have caused an epidemic of ADHD, autism, epilepsy and cot death. There is no scientific evidence for any of these claims. Miss O'Neill runs the Misty Mountain Health Retreat at Bellbrook near Kempsey with husband Michael O'Neill, who set up the Involuntary Medication Objectors Party in 2015 and the Health Australia Party in 2016 to run in the federal election on a platform against vaccination programs and water fluoridation. Mr O'Neill has campaigned against the Sunday Telegraph's No Jab, No Play and No Jab, No Pay campaigns. On her website, Miss O'Neill advises mothers who cannot breastfeed to avoid infant formula in favour of almond milk blended with dates or banana. She advises not to feed solids or grains until a child's molars are in. Professor Jane Scott, who co-authored the National Health and Medical Research Council's Australian Infant Feeding Guidelines, said such substitutes for breast milk or infant formula were definitely not safe. There is a real danger here for infants, as these will not support healthy growth and development, Professor Scott said. Miss O'Neill was approached for comment. Nice work, Jane, and bye for now, skeptics.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. Now, coming up this week in Sydney on the 10th of January, Skeptics in the Pub at the Occidental Hotel, and it's an open mic night. I might be there, I might not, I'm not sure. I'm in San Francisco, the United States, here for a little while longer than anticipated, but life can be strange. Enjoying the cool weather, of course. Nevertheless, if you are in Sydney, the 10th of January is the date you should head for the Occidental Hotel just near Wynyard Station for Skeptics in the Pub, an open mic night. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off from the Bay Area, San Francisco.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for show notes, contacts, and to access the back catalogue of episodes going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone podcast on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, visit our Facebook page, or leave a review on iTunes. You can also support the Skeptic Zone via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone podcast is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian skeptics or any other skeptical organisation.